All right. And once again, just wanted to welcome everybody to the class. Today's class is actually, I've enjoyed class. I enjoyed putting it together because it's a topic that I really like going into. And of course, as we're speaking, people are trying to, of course, we knew that that was going to happen, right? But anyway, I really enjoyed putting this class together because it's got to be one of my favorite oils to talk about. And I know that if I want to learn more about an oil, I know that probably most of you all do too. And one of the things that I like in particular about this oil is that, I mean, you find out that it's literally good for almost everything. And I think that's, okay, Francis, I just muted everybody. Francis just sent me a text. I know there was some background noise, so I just muted everybody just so everybody knows. But like I said, one of the things about frankincense oil is the fact that regardless of what condition, what situation, whether it's pain, whether it's skin issues, whether it's respiratory issues, digestive issues, you can literally find a use for frankincense for those particular conditions. So it's good for so many things. Practically every body system that you possess is in some way going to be affected by this unbelievably wonderful oil. And of course I call it, and we call it, the king of oils, and that's going to be frankincense. So anyway, you're going to find that, you know, after this class, I mean, if you don't have frankincense in your life, everybody I guarantee is going to want to find out how they can get this oil into their life so that they can start using it. As a matter of fact, in the process of this class, or putting this class together, I determined that I'm going to be using it even more in other applications. One of the, I was actually watching a video from our own Dr. Hill. He was actually talking about the protocol of, you know, every single day, a couple of drops of frankincense under your tongue should be what everybody in the household does at the very least, right? Now, of course, I use frankincense in the supplements that I take, and, you know, in other ways on my face, but I don't necessarily, you know, put it under the tongue. And so I'm going to, you know, to start doing that. And so anyway, here's a frankincense tree. I thought that were frankincense trees, I should say. And I really like this picture. I don't know if it's the backdrop on the, you know, the beautiful blue skies, but one of the things that I found after, you know, doing a little bit of research on frankincense in particular is that there are different types of frankincense trees. All right, now I don't think I really understood that properly before I started studying for this class. And you're going to see, as you know, as I advance the slides, that some frankincense trees look a little scraggly. These particular frankincense trees look beautiful. They look very healthy. And we're going to find that this frankincense tree, which is actually the Boswellia tree, is actually in danger. It's in danger of being over harvested. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the sourcing methods that doTERRA is using to preserve this beautiful tree called the Boswellia tree. All right, wanted to talk just a little bit about where the frankincense is actually from, or the Boswellia tree, I'm sorry, is actually from. We call it frankincense because frankincense is actually what is harvested from the Boswellia tree. And there are several locations where we actually get different types of frankincense. And there's a very, it's actually, and I'm going to show it on the next slide, it's actually a trail that they would use back in the day, and I believe that they still use it. Of course, their mode of transportation is a lot different than it used to be, but there was an actual trail that was actually taken, that they would go to harvest the frankincense and bring it back to the different places, whether it be Egypt, whether it be Jerusalem, whether it be some of the other regions, possibly Pakistan, and other places like that. But it's from places in Ethiopia. It's from places in Somalia, from Oman. So there's a few different countries and regions that the frankincense oil, or should I say frankincense resin, is actually harvested. It's distilled to give us what we know as is frankincense oil. I don't have frankincense resin. I've never actually touched it. I would like to. I think it would be pretty neat. And actually, in my studies for this class, I thought it was kind of neat. They actually sell, and of course, they sell everything, because, so if somebody can make a buck out of something, they'll, but they actually sell frankincense resin, which is fine. And you can actually even burn frankincense resin in some of these oil burners. However, the most profitable use for us is going to be in that frankincense oil. All right, and we're going to find out a little bit more about that. But first, I just want to talk just a little bit about, the harvesting practices of this oil. So here, this is a satellite image of the frankincense trail. In other words, just showing that this oil, or the resin, was so valuable. It was very precious back in the day, that they actually made these trails where people would go to these different regions to be able to benefit from this frankincense oil. Of course, they got it in the form of resin. We get it after it's been distilled in the form of oil, which is much easier for us to use, especially internally. So beautiful, beautiful picture of the Boswellia resin. But the frankincense tree, or the Boswellia tree, it grows in Somalia, grows in Oman, grows in Yemen, and the African continent. It starts producing resin when it's 8 to 10 years old. All right. The resin is extracted from the bark of the tree using taps. So what they actually do, what these men do, and we're going to see this on some of the other slides, is they actually have special tools to where they actually score the tree, and then you have to wait. You can't just start harvesting right away. In order to harvest frankincense, you have to be very, very patient. This isn't an easy and quick process. You have to be very patient. And it's also a very dangerous harvesting. We'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. But so what happens is it's air dried, all right? So basically it's just allowed to just stay there and just air dry. And then they come back and they actually scrape it off into these different bowls. And it produces pale yellow droplets that, when burnt, give off a beautiful and a distinct aroma. And if anybody here that's actually ever diffused frankincense, understand that this aroma is absolutely beautiful. It's very, very calming. It's almost like a sedative. It's just so calming. It puts you at ease. It helps actually to put you to sleep as well. So let's go ahead and advance, if my computer would allow me to. All right, so here is a gentleman, and he is quite possibly in Oman. He could be in Yemen. But the process of collecting frankincense, it happens 2 times a year. So they have a spring harvest and they have a fall harvest. All right. And the harvesting of the resin it's a 1 to 2 week process. Just like I say, it's not a quick and easy process. So first the harvesters, they cut the tree, then they come back and they collect the crystal resin. Then the crystal resin goes into the distillery, where it's crushed into powder. It's put into an oil bath. It's steam distilled to extract the oil that we call frankincense. Now, this is actually what it looks like as it's actually coming out of the tree. You see how there's white and there's also yellow. They actually go through a lot of different processes of separating the white resin from the yellow resin. The white resin is more, it's what people like more for some reason. And I'm not going to go into all of that, although it was very interesting to me. You could definitely do your own Google search and take a look at some of the, I mean, this is not an easy process. And what doTERRA does is they literally, they pay these folks in these countries, they pay them very good money to not only to grow, not only harvest, not only distill, but then they actually pay them for the frankincense as well. So it's, you know, it's definitely a process that's very, very beneficial to the folks that are in these countries. So it's derived, the oil is derived from the resinous tears of the trees, and they've been carefully scored or bled. You have to be very, very careful that you don't overscore the tree. You can actually damage the tree. You can't score it too much, too big, too deep. There's all of these specific criteria for actually extracting this resin out of the boswellia trees. So each tree actually produce these frankincense tears for long time, for hundreds of years. All right, so it's a long time that these trees can actually produce this resin. All right, and then it's only after it's been carefully distilled that this complex mixture of monoterpenes is actually now useful for us, okay? And that's what I want to talk about. It's just how useful this frankincense oil is for us. All right, so there's 10 benefits, but there's actually many more. And so I added a couple after the, you know, the initial 10, because after I was all done with the 10, I said, well, wait a minute, this is good for brain injury also. So I did a little bit of research on that, and I added another benefit of the oil. But first, I want to talk about stress. All right, frankincense is perhaps one of the best oils for any kind of stress-related issue. All right. And usually the inhalation of the frankincense is the best way, or should I say the quickest way, to get this oil into your body. All right. So all you have to do is just open up that cap and just smell that oil. And it's known, scientifically been shown, they've done lots of studies on this oil, probably the oil that's been studied the most clinically. But it's been shown to reduce heart rate. It's been shown to reduce blood pressure. All you have to do is just open up that bottle and inhale it. All right. It's been shown to be anti-anxiety, antidepressant, and it's way better than any type of pharmaceutical medication that you can take for depression or anxiety, because it doesn't have all those negative side effects. All right, the unwanted drowsiness and, you know, feeling out of it, or where you're not really in control. None of that at all. It helps to boost the immune system function. It prevents illness. All right, now here again, studies have demonstrated that frankincense benefits extend to immune enhancing abilities that may help destroy dangerous bacteria, dangerous viruses, and even cancers. They are doing a lot of clinical studies on frankincense oil in whether it's Johns Hopkins and other facilities throughout the country for the anti-neoplastic qualities of frankincense. Anti-neoplastic just means anti-tumor. A neoplasm is just, it's new, neoplasm is just new cell growth, okay? And so frankincense actually inhibits, okay, because cancer, that's what it is. Cancer is just, it's cells that are dividing rapidly, okay? And so frankincense is actually been shown to reduce the anti-neoplastic effects on the body. At any given time, what's going on in our bodies? So it's, this is something that's happening all the time in our bodies. And so frankincense actually, it aids the natural processes that are going on in the body, in our immune system, to keep these unwanted new growth from happening in the body. All right. It's also very good as a natural way to relieve oral health problems. It's got antiseptic qualities that actually help with the gingivitis, bad breath, cavities, toothaches, mouth sores, and other infections. So this oil is just, it's a must. Everybody has got to have this oil. As a matter of fact, this was one of the reasons actually that I even got started with essential oils, because of frankincense. I wanted frankincense in my life. I wanted to learn more about frankincense. I wanted to know more about this oil. And the more that I learn about it, the more that I believe in the health benefits of this oil. So here is benefit number 3, may help fight cancer or deal with chemotherapy side effects. Okay, so just similar to what I was saying about the research that's going on, they have found that frankincense actually has promising anti-inflammatory and anti-tumor effects when tested in lab studies and on animals. So this is not a cruelty type study either, because frankincense is not, there's nothing cruel about this oil. I wouldn't mind being in those studies and get some free frankincense benefits, but anyway, so they test this on people and on animals, and it has been shown to help fight cells of specific types of cancer. Research that's being done in China that's investigated the anti-cancer effects of frankincense and myrrh on 5 tumor cell lines in lab study. The results showed that human breast and skin cancer cell lines showed increased sensitivity to the combination of myrrh and frankincense essential oils. So the combination is awesome. And if you look at the two, they're both produced from resin. And if you look at the myrrh resin as compared to the frankincense resin, it's quite a big difference. And maybe I'll do I'll incorporate myrrh in a class here in the near future. But a 2012 study even found that a chemical component found in frankincense called AKBA is successful at killing cancer cells that have become resistant to chemotherapy, which may make it a potential natural cancer treatment. Now, one of the things that frankincense does is it actually stimulates a process called apoptosis. And apoptosis is just natural cell destruction. It goes on in our bodies all the time. And frankincense helps to boost that whole process of apoptosis. And it's unbelievable. The more that you learn about this oil, the more that you will agree with me that this oil of frankincense is unbelievable. It is literally God's gift. All right, here we got 4 and 5. 4 would be astringent. Now, what is an astringent? Well, astringent is actually something that shrinks, and like we might put astringent on our face to close our pores, that's exactly what astringent does, is it closes things down. All right, and it can kill harmful germs and bacteria. It has an antiseptic and disinfectant agent that has an antimicrobial effect. It has the ability to eliminate cold and flu germs from the home and the body naturally. So this is something being diffused in your home can actually help to protect your home. So rather than spraying Lysol, maybe you can just diffuse some frankincense, all right? And On Guard as well. A lab study published in Letters, well, this is the lab study, it's called Letters in Applied Microbiology. It found that the combination of frankincense oil and myrrh oil is particularly effective when used against pathogens. These 2 oils, frankincense and myrrh, which have been used in combination since 1500 BC, we read about it in the Bible. We know these oils have been around for quite some time. They have synergistic, that means that they work together in synergy. They also have additive properties when exposed to certain microorganisms. All right. Now, this is what I like. It heals the skin and prevents the signs of aging. I've been using frankincense on my face for quite some time now. And now I'm not just saying this. I'm Italian, all right? So Italians naturally have issues under their eyes. I get it. I have to fight the issues under my eyes because I was born into this wonderful Italian family. But let me tell you something, since I've been using frankincense on my face, I have literally noticed a difference. Literally noticed a difference. I've always had skin issues. I've always battled with my skin. Matter of fact, I used to always say if there was one thing that I could change, what would it be? And it's usually either my hair, my skin, or my baby belly. Which one is it? And it's oftentimes it's my skin. Because I'm 54 years old and sometimes I feel like I have the skin of a 16-year-old. It's like that's not fair. Why should I still be having skin issues? Well, everybody always tells me, oh, just be so thankful you've got oily skin because it's going to benefit you later on. And yeah, okay. I was always waiting for that later on, but I'm going to tell you something. Since I started using frankincense, I literally could tell a difference. I love frankincense on my skin. It has the ability to strengthen skin, improve its tone, improve its elasticity, which is what we lose as we get older. And it has defense mechanisms that are good against bacteria. Now, why would that be important for our skin? Well, anybody who's ever studied acne and pimples understands that pimples are a result of bacteria. That's why when you go to the dermatologist and they give you this super strong stuff, what is it there for? It's usually there to kill bacteria. Okay, and it does a good job of it, but it also does other things to your skin that you might not like. Dries you out way too much. Not so with frankincense. Frankincense is the perfect balance. Okay. It says it may also help to lift and tone the skin, reduce the appearance of scars, acne, heal wounds. It may also be beneficial for fading of stretch marks, and who doesn't have those? Surgery scars or marks associated with pregnancy, and that's usually stretch marks, and for healing dry or cracked skin. So frankincense for the skin is awesome. Now we're going to talk a little bit about frankincense for other uses. All right. What about improving memory? Now, you know what my memory is? This is my memory right here, right? I have to have a notebook and a pen, and this is what I call my what do you call my thumb drive, right? I can take it with me. It's my memory. But what I have done at different times, and like I say, I want to actually put this oil in use in my body more than I do now, is to drop just a drop of frankincense on the crown of my head, also putting it on the back of my neck. Why? Because the blood vessels are very, very close to your scalp in both of those areas, and so you want the frankincense going into the areas in your brain the quickest. Will get it to as close as possible to those areas. Another very good way to get frankincense very quickly into your body is a couple drops under your tongue. It's called the sublingual mode. Okay, that's a very, very effective mode. It gets it systemically very fast. Another way to get it neurologically very, very fast is to put a little drop on your thumb and press it to the roof of your mouth. People with migraines say that this is a really helpful way to actually get rid of migraines very quickly. All right, so frankincense improves the memory. And I thought that this was pretty interesting, is that there are studies that even show that frankincense during pregnancy may increase the memory of a mother's offspring. Now, don't ask me how they would find these things out. But they've got all these ways of doing their studies, but I thought it was pretty interesting myself. What about this? Helping balance hormones and improve fertility. Frankincense oil benefits may include reducing symptoms associated with menstruation and menopause by balancing hormone levels. So as Lou pointed out last week, which I thought was very interesting, it does not make things go too high. It does not make things go too low. What these essential oils do is they literally balance things. Okay, so if you put lemongrass over your heart for high blood pressure, if it's too low, it'll increase it. If it's too high, it will decrease it. So what these oils have an ability to do is to balance things out. And so frankincense with hormones, very, very effective at balancing those hormone levels. It's been used to help relieve pain, cramps, constipation. We're going to talk a little bit about some, because GI issues are actually one of the main reasons why people would visit the ERs today, is some type of a gastrointestinal issue. Frankincense literally helps to regulate your intestinal processes. It helps to relieve headaches. It helps to relieve anxiety, nausea, fatigue, mood swings, and it's also quite possibly able to help with regulating the estrogen production and may reduce the risk of tumor or cyst development in premenopausal women. Very interesting things that have actually been said about this oil. And so for very good reason, this is an oil that we all should get in our life. And so here's where I was talking about the digestion. It helps to ease digestion. It helps the digestive system to properly detox and to produce bowel movements. It may also help to reduce pain and cramping in the stomach, relieve nausea, flush out excess water from the abdomen that can cause bloating, and even relieve PMS-related stomach pains. It's very, very interesting, some of the things that I was learning about this oil. It relieves some of those issues by speeding up the secretion of digestive enzymes. Now, anybody who's studied anatomy and physiology understand the unbelievable importance of digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes, they start in the mouth. You've got your lactase and some of these other ones. It goes into your stomach, and once that food, which is no longer called food at that time, it's now called a bolus. Once it's actually there, the pancreas and the liver are busy, depending on if you've just eaten a lot of fat, or you need maybe you've eaten something that's got a lot of lactose in it or something. Your pancreas is working very hard to send out enzymes into the duodenum to go ahead and to act and react with what is now being ejected from the stomach into the duodenum, and it starts its process of metabolism in the small, and then again the large intestine. Small intestine, in particular jejunum and the ileum, very, very important processes, and enzymes are critical. A lot of people, for two reasons, do not have proper digestive enzymes. One is because of our food supply. We are not getting the digestive enzymes like we need from over farming. Our fruits and vegetables are our greatest source of digestive enzymes. So that's why it's so important. One of the reasons why it's so important to get our fruits and vegetables. But another reason why is because of the fact that people are not getting the proper amount of these foods with the digestive enzymes. All right, so there's actually ways that you can actually increase the secretion of digestive enzymes. Frankincense is one of them. Okay, frankincense also increases urination production. Relaxing the muscles of the digestive tract also helps to improve circulation. It's unbelievable how these processes are so interconnected with one another. It's been shown to be beneficial in reducing symptoms of leaky gut, chronic colitis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, and IBS. Unbelievable oil frankincense is. Now, this is one of the things that I like, because I usually have absolutely no problem falling asleep. I stay very busy mentally, especially. I stay very busy mentally during the day. So by the end of the day, I'm usually tired, right? So it is important, you know, to stay as busy as you can during the day, because if you've just been sitting around all day eating bonbons, you're probably going to have a hard time falling asleep at night. But frankincense actually, when you diffuse it, it can actually help you to put your mind at rest so that you can actually go to sleep. And I've been learning that that is one of the most important things that we can do when we lay our head on our pillow, is to put that mind at rest. I found with myself that the times where I have a hard time falling asleep are the times where my mind is busy thinking. Now, I've just spent, you know, a good, 16 hours thinking during the day. I need to stop. I need to put my mind at rest and just allow myself to, you know, quote unquote, zone out, you know. That's the time for you to do that, because it's a mind that's not at rest. That's going to be a mind or a body that's tossing and turning on their pillows. Frankincense literally helps you to put your mind at rest. It also lowers the levels of anxiety and stress. It has a calming, grounding scent that can naturally help you fall asleep. It helps to open up the breathing passages, allowing your body to reach an ideal sleeping temperature, and can eliminate pain that keeps you up. So for many different reasons, frankincense is an awesome oil to help us to be able to relax and go to sleep. It helps decrease inflammation and pain. I thought this was pretty interesting. Frankincense can actually inhibit, which basically the same word. It inhibits the production of key inflammatory molecules associated with conditions like arthritis, asthma, painful bowel disorders like IBS, and other conditions. Inflammation is literally a cycle. Inflammation is good. It's a natural response that we get for some type of a stress or an injury. Inflammation is, but the problem is sometimes what happens is that cycle continues to repeat itself in our body. That's when there's a problem. Always remember one thing: if you have pain, you have inflammation. It goes hand in hand, pain and inflammation. Frankincense has an uncanny ability to relieve inflammation. It can also be useful in helping to prevent the breakdown of the cartilage tissue that we all deal with as we get older. A lot of us find that it's in our knees. Some of us, it's in our shoulders, especially if you've had an injury. All right, that's where arthritis, that word arthro means joint. Itis means inflammation. So arthritis literally is inflammation in a joint. And guess what? You have a lot of joints. You have them in your neck, in your shoulder, your fingers, in your knees. You have joints all over your body. You have them right here. I know I've dealt with TMJ a couple times, where literally I had to drink through a straw. It was that bad. I couldn't even open my mouth. It was terrible. So inflammation in a joint is it's very painful, because let's face it, our joints were meant to move. Joints are meant to move. If you're having problems moving a joint, you want to get rid of that. Alrighty, let's see. Let's go to the next. Alrighty, therapeutic benefits of frankincense. Literally, I made this slide up before I made the previous slides, but I didn't want to get rid of this because I just liked it so much. I loved the backdrop of the frankincense. It's actually really cool. There's ways where you can get your graphic, and then you could do your writing over top of it. That's why I absolutely love doing PowerPoints, because there's so many things that you can do. But anyway, therapeutic properties of frankincense: antiseptic, astringent, carminative, cicatricant, cytophylactic, digestive, diuretic, emmenagogue, expectorant, sedative, tonic, uterine, vulnerary, and anti-neoplastic, which is what we talked about, which is the anti-tumor. All right, so This was something that I put on because my brother was actually going to be here. He just actually texted and said that he wasn't going to be here today, but he's got somebody very close to him that actually is suffering from a traumatic brain injury, a stroke survivor. And, you know, I know a lot of us, you know people who have had strokes, and a stroke is literally a debilitating uh, issue that people deal with. And so one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to, you know, put some slides as to what to do after the brain injury, right? We know what we should be doing beforehand, right? We should be taking proactive measures such as ingesting frankincense daily, using other oils to help keep our arteries clear. It's kind of like Roto-Rooter for our arteries. And there are plenty of essential oils that help with that. We can talk about that later. But when it comes to actually healing from a brain injury, from a tumor, we very well should consider essential oils. And these essential oils that we should consider are the ones that contain a high percentage of sesquiterpenes. Okay, now I know that sounds like a very, you know, big word and everything like that, but you know, it's just a, you know, it's just a scary chemistry word. That's all it is. But basically, what it does, what this percentage, this high percentage, what it actually does is it maximizes oxygenation to the brain. That's what you want to do if you've had a traumatic brain injury of any type, is you want to increase oxygenation to the brain. Okay, it's exactly the reason why when we get a cut, it gets red, it gets blue, it turns purple. That is because of that rush of blood, and that rush of blood is for a few different reasons, but one is for the oxygen. Oxygen equals healing. Okay, it's just very, very important. All right. So every injury in the body requires oxygen to promote healing. And when it comes to cancer, the cells prefer environments that are devoid of oxygen. Okay, so if you want to prevent cancer, if you want to help cancer to get rid of it, you want to increase your oxygenation. Okay, in wherever that cancer might be. And oftentimes we can just increase that oxygenation systemically. In other words, all over the body. All right. So with more oxygen, cancer has a hard time staying alive. Many essential oils are not only high in sesquiterpenes that increase oxygenation, not only in the brain, but in the whole body. They contain other chemical constituents that can nourish and assist in the repair of the injured tissue, whether it's brain tissue, whether it's cardiac tissue, whether it's pulmonary, whatever the tissue might be, these chemical constituents in the oils can actually nourish and assist in the repair. So, human brain, the most complex organ in the body. When we were studying, when it was the chapter on neurology, that was a very difficult chapter, let me tell you. And it wasn't because of the anatomy of the brain. It was because of the physiology of the brain. There are processes that we, as a matter of fact, my instructor, when I asked her, I forget the question I asked her, but she had told me, she says, you know, we really only know about 10% of everything there is to know about the brain. Well, I might say that we probably know even less than that. All right, because God has given us such an unbelievably complex organ, that organ called the brain, but it's not just the brain, it's the whole system, the central nervous system, which it actually runs down the spinal column. And then of course, we've got the peripheral nervous system, which runs into all the nerves and the dendrites. And, you know, that's what makes our appendages move. It's what gives us locomotion. But in our brain, most complex of all, because it literally can be controlled by hormones. It can be controlled by external stimuli, such as light, such as sound, such as heat, such as touch. It's an unbelievable organ. And the injuries from that organ can range from mild concussions to more serious head trauma. Usually various brain injuries are slow to heal, but frankincense oil can aid greatly in healing. Okay, it works because it aids the oxygenation of blood going to the brain, and this in turn will aid in oxygen absorption. And when that oxygen is effectively absorbed, it allows the brain to process, to retain information, to heal, and to function correctly. Have you ever heard that term, just take a deep breath? There's actually science behind that. There's a reason why we would just take a deep breath. As a matter of fact, there's a reason why our body just impulsively causes us to yawn. There's actually a scientific process that's behind that. Really, really interesting. And it's twofold. It's one, because the reason why we breathe is not necessarily to get oxygen as much as it is to expel the carbon dioxide. Really, really interesting. But it's also because our bodies are in need of that oxygen. That's why if you ever hold your breath, when you finally do start breathing again, it's almost like a gasp, because your body is in need of that oxygen. Your body can only go so long. And as quickly as our oxygen is coming in, as quickly as it is processed within the entire body and being sent out now as carbon dioxide, okay, which also has oxygen in it as well. So anyway, but not to go into all of that, which I know it's interesting to me, but I know a lot of people, you know, they're kind of like, they all of a sudden get turned off by all that sciencey stuff, but I just absolutely love it. But anyway, frankincense is the essential oil of choice for any kind of brain disorder. So it's, like I say, it's an oil that everybody should have in their home. All right. Now, we're going to talk a little sciencey here, but not too much. And I'm going to make this very, very short. But I do want to talk just a little bit about that blood-brain barrier, because essential oils, and in particular frankincense, but many others, they have been demonstrated to go beyond the blood-brain barrier. Okay, now, what's so important about the blood-brain barrier, right? What's the big deal about the blood-brain barrier? It's almost something like, you know, the big black bear bit the big black bug, or something like that. The blood-brain barrier, try to say that 3 times fast. Well, it's actually more than just, you know, 3 interesting and hard to say together words. The blood-brain barrier is actually critical in our bodies. In other words, what could be in our blood supply are not necessarily things that we want in our brain. So the blood-brain barrier keeps certain unwanted things out. Essential oils are not one of them. And the reason why is because the molecules of an essential oil are very, very small. The molecules of different pharmaceutical drugs and chemicals are not so small. That's why it's very, very difficult to treat certain diseases of the brain, such as a brain tumor. So anyway, the essential oils are known to interact with neurotransmitter receptors. And this study shows that an inhalation of essential oils will communicate signals to the olfactory system, which is located deep in, you know, behind your sinuses, behind your eyes, right there at the crown of your nasal cavity. It communicates signals to the olfactory system and stimulate the brain to exert neurotransmitters, in particular, serotonin and dopamine, thereby further regulating mood. In other words, smells can literally affect your mood. I think that's really, really interesting. I actually did a class on the olfaction. Olfaction is just the sense of smell. It's actually on YouTube. Just type in my name and I put it up there. It's a previous class that I taught. And, you know, I talk a lot more about, you know, our sense of smell and just how important it actually is. So it's more important than you actually might think. All righty. Okay, we're just about done here, but I just wanted to talk just a little bit more. And I really liked putting together this slide. I really like the, the top picture with the, the frankincense in the 3 boxes. And as a matter of fact, I think the frankincense that I saw as I was, getting pictures for this class, the frankincense that was for sale on Amazon actually kind of looked similar to those boxes up there. Like I say, what people will do to, to make a few dollars. But anyway, excuse me, the frankincense resin is edible and often used as traditional medicine in many Asian countries to cure bronchial and urinary tract infections. Boswellic acid, which is found in the resin of the Boswellia tree, have been found to have anti-proliferative effects on various tumor cell lines. So once again, that anti-neoplastic that I was talking to you about. And these particular tumors would be melanoma, glioblastoma, which that's in your glial cells, which is actually in your brain, and liver cancer in vitro based on apoptosis. Now, apoptosis, we talked about that earlier, and that is our body's natural ability to identify a cell that is diseased or in some way damaged. And our body's natural response to that is to kill that cell. Frankincense literally stimulates apoptosis. I want that going on in my body now. Now, frankincense oil has been found to distinguish cancerous cells from normal cells and suppress cancer cell viability. Now, we can actually visualize cancer cells under a microscope, but frankincense doesn't have the aid of a microscope to do this. So how frankincense does this is an unbelievable, it's a phenomenon. But, I believe that, with God, in, his wonderful wisdom in making these trees that give us these wonderful oils, I have no doubt that ability would be there. But this was interesting, and I never knew this before, and I'm not so sure that I even wanted to include this in here, but frankincense smoke produces a psychoactive substance, which helps to expand consciousness. Now, I really don't understand too much what that means. What does it mean to expand consciousness? I just thought it was kind of hippie-like and kind of interesting. So I kind of added that in there, So I guess if you want to be a hippie and expand your consciousness, you might want to burn frankincense oil. Anyway, I just thought it was kind of interesting. So I decided to add it in there. All right, now, this picture I just thought was so unbelievably awesome. I just had to add it. The tradition of gathering raw frankincense from Boswellia trees in the Cad Mountains has been handed down from father to son for many centuries. There are dangerous challenges for these men, including rough terrain, venomous snakes, and jagged cliffs as high as over 8,000 feet. Could you imagine scaling up the side of that cliff that this lone frankincense tree decided to call its home, and then go ahead and be about the business of harvesting the resin from that tree? Now, you would not get me up there. Not to mention that there are actually vipers that call the frankincense tree their home. So if you survive the climb up the mountain and get to the tree, then you got to worry about the snakes that are hanging out in the frankincense tree. Now, I don't know that you could pay me enough to do that, but people do it. Here's another view of, I believe it's the same tree, and I can't get enough of this picture. It's just unbelievable to me that anything would be able to grow where that thing is growing, much less something that has so many beneficial and healing properties that are all about it. And one of the reasons why is because a lot of those rocks there is actually limestone. And there's a lot of beneficial and healing properties in in that type of a substance. So anyway, frankincense oil, of course, we talked about it, derived from the Boswellia sacra tree, not just the Boswellia sacra, there's other Boswellia trees as well. But Boswellia sacra is characterized by its thin and peeling bark, tangled branches, and clustered leaves at the end. You notice how the leaves are all the way at the very end of those branches. Most Boswellia trees are not the most beautiful to look at. And I know I include those beautiful ones in the very beginning, only to show that there are different types of Boswellia tree. The trunks of these trees often have more than one stem. However, some have only one trunk. The trees can grow up to 8 meters. They're commonly found growing on rocky slopes, southern coastal mountains, and the Boswellia sacra is native to Ethiopia, northern Somalia, southwestern Oman, and southern Yemen. This is a picture, and I probably could have put this in the beginning, but I did want to just show the actual process of what he's doing is he's scraping off the hardened resin. Okay, so he scored this tree probably, a week or maybe 2 weeks ago, and he's coming back to remove the hardened resin, dropping it into his basket. He's going to take it, and they are going to separate the light from the dark, and then they're going to go ahead and distill. But one Boswellia sacra tree, I should say, can produce a couple pounds of resin each year. If Boswellia sacra trees are properly cared for, the tree can produce resin for hundreds of years. And we did talk about that earlier in this slideshow. So we're not going to talk about that anymore. Alrighty. I liked that picture of the tears. Those are actually the resin tears. I just thought it was just a very beautiful close-up picture. And then on the right of your screen is going to be the hardened prior to the distillation, and also showing the different colors of this resin. And then of course the bottle of frankincense oil. Now, the high demand of frankincense has led to the over-harvesting of the Boswellia trees. The tree bark is cut or stripped to obtain its milky sap. The tapping of these trees was once seasonable, but is now happening year-round, resulting in a serious threat to the survival of the wild forest. And these famous frankincense forests are in a lot of danger. So in comes doTERRA. Now doTERRA, one of doTERRA's important things that they do, I can't think of a better word, but one of the important things that doTERRA does is they institute what's called these sustainable practices. In other words, can we sustain the harvesting of this frankincense oil, right? If we take it all now, will we have any left next year, right? That's what sustainable practices are. So if frankincense is not properly harvested or it's over harvested, the trees can be killed. And the proper harvesting techniques are the time of the year, the number and the size of the cuts, and then the frequency. Those are all important to do correctly to make sure that we get sustainability. And I included this because there's a gentleman that actually, he works for our organization. His name is Tim Ballantiner. An awesome man. If you ever hear him speak, the guy has got a heart as big as the earth. And he's in charge of the global strategic sourcing. So he actually travels around. He talks to people on the ground, the native people of these different places, whether it's Madagascar, whether it's Nepal, whether it's Haiti or Brazil. And he actually talks about over harvesting and the pressures that actually exist. Now, in particular with the frankincense, because the frankincense, this tree, it grows in a very limited amount or a limited, environment. So it's not like you can just, grow a frankincense tree in your backyard, right? If you want frankincense, you've got to go to these African countries or these countries that's on the Arabian Peninsula. All right. Now, doTERRA was very grateful for the opportunity to speak to National Geographic to show the sustainability initiatives that doTERRA has been developing and implementing over the last several years. And it gave Tim Valentina the opportunity to talk about the current challenges and the pressures that are actually impacting the Boswellia trees. The genus of trees producing different resins, or commonly known as frankincense. So he was actually able to do an interview with National Geographic and just show the good sustainability practices that doTERRA has actually been implementing. And so it's actually very helpful. And this picture I thought was really beautiful because what it does is it actually shows a Boswellia tree nursery, and those are Boswellia tree saplings. So another way that doTERRA is actively pursuing sustainability for Boswellia trees is through propagation. We have funded research and even created nurseries together with partners in various locations to plant and cultivate Boswellia saplings. So that's a beautiful, beautiful initiative that's being done there. Propagation is the best way to protect the survival and long-term health of Boswellia species. This effort involves replanting new, younger saplings, but also assisting mature trees with natural regrowth. Trainings are also being provided to harvesters to help ensure that mature older trees are harvested in a way that won't overly stress or kill them prematurely. Now, of course, that's being done by the sustainability or those practices that ensure the sustainability of the Boswellia trees and the harvesting of the essential oil frankincense. All righty, I cannot advance. Here we go. All right. Now, there's an article in the Associated Press, and it warned of overharvesting of wild frankincense trees. I thought this was a beautiful graphic just showing the rugged terrain that some of these trees grow in. This is very rugged terrain. So the Associated Press was very relieved to see the global attention, or I should say doTERRA was actually very relieved to see that global attention to the threat of the frankincense or the Boswellia tree. At doTERRA, we treasure the ancient and powerful frankincense resin and are happy to source it in a way that protects both the trees and the harvesters' livelihoods. Okay. Due to our uncompromising care, we are confident in doTERRA's continued supply of frankincense essential oil, which is steam distilled from the collected resins. However, we urge other essential oil and aromatherapy companies to swiftly adopt sustainability methods of harvesting. Okay. Now, since the founding of doTERRA in 2008, doTERRA has remained committed to sourcing each essential oil responsibly. It's one of the things that I love about this company is it's a co-impact initiative, and it's a sustainability projects that doTERRA actually engages in, where they take care of these oils. They take care of the Boswellia trees. They take care of the different places where we harvest the oils. And so indeed, our on-ground partner in Somaliland has worked closely with the Sanag region, clan elders, and the multi-generational harvesting communities, similar to those highlighted in the Associated Press article. He has chosen to collaborate with doTERRA, calling it the only company I've come across that actually cares about sustainability. Now that, I personally take that as a compliment, because that's what doTERRA is all about. So the sustainable sourcing, here's another beautiful picture of a frankincense or Boswellia tree. Again, I want to show you, I was trying to show everybody here different pictures of the trees just to show the wide range of images for this one tree called the Boswellia tree. It's kind of like if you were to say, there's a maple tree growing in my backyard. Well, what are you going to ask right away? You're going to say, well, what kind of a maple tree is it, right? Or if I say I've got an oak tree, you're going to say the same thing. What kind of an oak tree? All right. It's the same thing with the Boswellia tree. There are different kinds of Boswellia trees. All right. But doTERRA is a leading voice in the frankincense research and sustainability initiatives. We've led the charge in propagation and have developed some of the first frankincense nurseries in harvesting areas. We work with our network of harvesting communities and resin sorting warehouses to continually improve traceability and transparency throughout the supply chain. So without going too much more into that, just, I just wanted to make sure that I, passed along the co-impact sourcing strategy. It's a deliberate approach to provide ethically responsible employment opportunities for those involved in the essential oil supply chain by creating sustaining jobs in rural and underserved areas. doTERRA is committed to benefiting everyone involved, from the small scale farmers or producers to the end users. So from the source to you. And so we take very good care of those that bring this beautiful frankincense oil to us that is so beneficial for so many issues that we might be dealing with. Like I said in the beginning, and I'll repeat it again here at the end, frankincense oil is an oil that we all should have in our homes because it is the oil of choice for many different issues. I wanted to include this just because I thought it was beautiful. But one of the things about this, this particular slide is it actually shows, where the plant part and from the tree. It says resin from Boswellia carteri, Friana, and Sacra. So those are three. There are actually more Boswellia trees, but those are three that are being used. It is steam distilled. The aromatic description is warm, spicy, and clean, but other frankincense oils have little different chemical properties to them. The sourcing origin from this particular frankincense is going to be from Somalia. And the key benefits, one of the ways that I love being able to take it is you can actually put it in a veggie cap if you don't care for the way that it tastes, which usually if you put a few drops under your tongue and chase it with some water, frankincense really doesn't have a very strong taste to it at all, but it's very, very good taking it sublingually like that because it gives a cellular functionality very, very quickly by doing it that way. So it can be used aromatically, it can be used topically, it can be used internally, and it does not need dilution. That's what it means when it says neat. That means it can be applied without any type of dilution at all. All righty, if you want to take out your camera or your phone, if you want to take a picture, these are some really awesome diffuser blends. And I just thought it was very, that one with the frankincense, the wild orange, and the cinnamon. I've been diffusing cinnamon quite often lately in different blends. It's actually, I've been using that same book that I've been sending out to folks. That it's a reddish pinkish book that I've been sending out. I've been using that a lot, and they have some really, really nice diffuser blends in that book. Here's another page with frankincense diffuser blends as well. You can take a picture of that. All righty. Okay, so just about done with our class. And here is, now this is an anti-aging serum, which I've been using a roller bottle myself for some time. I'm getting more into, using them in this way. Usually what I do is I just open up the bottle, put a few drops in my hand and get it on wherever I want to go. But having these roller bottles are actually really nice because you can put the fractionated coconut oil, which fractionated coconut oil is very, very helpful for two reasons. One is it allows the oil to stay on your skin longer. Two, it also benefits and aids in the absorption of the essential oils. So having fractionated coconut oil is a very good way to introduce these oils on your body. All right, so this is the end of my class. I do want to give folks the opportunity to see how they can actually get these oils into their life and the best ways to do so. And my first my first way to do so is purchasing what's called the Healthy Start Kit. This gives you 10 of the top oils, what I like to call foundational oils. It also gives you the Brevi, which is a very cute diffuser. And this particular kit has the frankincense oil in it. All right, so this is a way that you can actually get that oil into your life, into your home in short order. And not only does it give you the frankincense, but it also gives you the On Guard, which is very good for immune support. It gives you the Breathe, which is very good for respiratory support. It gives you Digest Zen, which is very good for digestive support, if you didn't guess that already. Deep Blue, which gives you just a lot of the pain for your joints, for your muscles, also for head tension. Rubbing it on the back of your neck is very, very beneficial. Peppermint, same thing, good for head tension, but also very good for energy. So, you know, if you're feeling a little afternoon slump, you put a drop of peppermint in your hands and you rub your hands together. I like to do it with like wild orange or lemon, some type of citrus oil, and I rub it together and take some deep breaths, and it wakes you up, just stimulates your brain very, very easily, very, very well. Lemon, which is cleansing, lavender, which is calming, tea tree or melaleuca, very, very good for skin. I use it on my face almost every day. Frankincense, which is again good for skin and for all the other reasons that we talked about today. And then of course there's the oregano for your immune support. It's like a powerhouse for our immune support and for our immune function. So that kit is absolutely wonderful. Like I say, gives you the 10 top oils, and once again they're here on the screen, which is maybe a little bit more information on each one of them. All right, and this is another kit that that you can actually get to get these oils in your life. However, this kit substitutes for frankincense. It substitutes copaiba. Excuse me, it also substitutes balance. It also substitutes, a wonderful oil called Adaptive. All right. Now, Adaptive is very, very good for calming, very good for stress, very good for anxious feelings. It's actually been studied and being shown to be very, very helpful for anxiety disorders, for depressive disorders, even ADHD, Parkinson's. Copaiba as well and balance are also very, very good for any type of neurological issues. Matter of fact, copaiba touches almost every single body system. All right, so copaiba is very, very good for neurological, for nervous system, but also for digestive and cardiovascular, and even more so than that. It's a wonderful oil. And then this also gives, these oils also are larger size than the other kit, but it also gives you a diffuser that's actually bigger than the previous diffuser. So that is the end of my class. Frankincense, the king of essential oils, as put very well by Dr. David Hill. Anyway, I am going to stop my sharing. I am going to stop my recording if I'm able to. Stop recording.